My name is Dana ID Matthews, and welcome to my reviews about stuff episode 9. So today I am going to be reviewing a movie that spawns from a TV series that is very dear to my heart. So much so that when I was a kid and I was first introduced to it, I definitely 100% believed that everything happening in the show was real. Power Rangers, Power Rangers, Power Rangers. The Power Rangers movie, 2017. They did it in the 90s, and now they're giving it a second go. It is an origin story, with the Power Rangers having switched up a bit since the original. Mainly the Black Power Ranger being an Asian man, and the Blue Power Ranger being a black man. And I gotta say, I appreciate the change. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna spoil everything. I don't care. I watched all the reviews, and I basically knew everything that was gonna happen before I went and saw this movie. But even so, I was still surprised. I feel like I kind of went in, and as soon as the opening scene started, I just kind of forgot everything and enjoyed the movie anew. I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's always been like that. I don't know. But I was consciously aware by the end of the movie that I wasn't taking anything that I had read about or viewed previously into account while I was watching the movie. And the main thing for that, I think, is the very gripping opening scene of the movie, which gives you a little context and backstory, which is awesome. So Rita, of course, is ends up being the Green Ranger. I don't know if she's the original Green Ranger, or if this team of Rangers is the original, because we do know there are Power Ranger teams spread out throughout the galaxy and universe. But she is a Green Ranger, and Zordon is the Red Ranger. And the opening scene is just chaos and explosions and death everywhere. Rita doing so, and Zordon and the Yellow Ranger are dying, and as the Yellow Ranger dies, her suit of armor, devolves or whatever, dissimulators, and it's an alien, which is super cool. And see Zordon, and his face is all blue and veiny and alien like, which I think makes sense. And it was just really gripping. You just get to see the backstory of how Rita got to be Rita. And before I had read that, I never really expected Rita to be a ranger, because in the original series she just wore some crazy ass costume, and it wasn't green at all. So I thought this was a cool addition. I really actually liked the new Rita in contrast to the old Rita. The new Rita I actually like a lot more. I gotta say, before I go on with the story here, that I was really impressed with the acting overall. With younger actors, the inexperience always shows, usually, for me. And I'm the type of person that picks up on subtle nuances in body language and things like that rather quickly. So I was actually really impressed with the acting overall. I felt like they were portraying their characters very efficiently. So here we go with the Rangers. Jason, the Red Ranger, he's typical in the way of, he's a football captain, a football star, celebrity in a small town. He's doing the old school football prank, where you take the other team's mascot and mess around with it in whatever numerous ways that you can think of. So he's typical in that way, but I did think it was cool that he did get caught and at the end of the day, he's a criminal now, and that aspect of the Rangers in general, you know, that's a nice, a darker tone addition, which I think is warranted. You know, these kids are teenagers. That's a very difficult age. I think anybody that's either there now or remembers how it was like then. So it's cool to see a little bit of diversity there in that regard. Now, there was a crash scene that I thought was really visually done. So whoever had worked on that, you know, well done. When not the main one, but when it was just Jason there, when he's initially getting away from the cops. I just thought the editing and effects were pretty cool. You know, the budget that was put into this movie definitely helped out for sure. So the thing that kind of made me accept Jason as the Red Ranger and his role within the team was when he initially goes to the detention room, you know, to serve whatever time he has to do for, you know, his little football prank. And he meets Billy and everybody else there, the rest of the team, they're all in detention. And, you know, this redheaded kid starts to pick on Billy, and Jason tells him to stop. And you can see him smiling because it's just so epic. He, you know, he slaps him, just open hand, palm, slap. I have to be completely honest. Probably one of the best slaps I have seen, real or, you know, movie or theater or whatever. It was that epic. And I thought that it was a very interestingly convincing way to portray that sense of wanting to defend your friends and not wanting to see people being oppressed and whatever, and being able to do something about it. I thought that was a very smart way to introduce that trait about Jason. Now, Kimberly, I like Kimberly. Though overall, out of everybody, I think she is the weakest character. There's an important scene where they're you know, around a fire, and they're all, you know, they're all sharing their stories and doing, you know, the whole intimate sharing things about their life thing around a campfire, drinking. You know, I think Zach mentioned that there were sodas, but the way they were doing it, you know, you could assume it was alcohol, but whatever. But she's the only one that doesn't say anything, which I thought, you know, was kind of lame. But you know, everybody has their time and limit, so that's fair. But the whole thing with Kimberly is that she's a mean girl who realizes that she's a mean girl and has kind of gone too far, and now she's making the transition back to being a caring, loving person, or just maybe an unselfish person. And you know, I just how I feel about her character. You know, she's cool. I like her. You know, she's part of the team, but Now Trini, I really enjoyed. She was like the outcast of the Rangers, and the one that Rita tried to approach to betray all of them, which she didn't because she's awesome. And because she's a Ranger, and Rangers wouldn't do that to each other. However, um, yeah, no, not however, but Trini, I really enjoyed Trini's character. The last one really to sort of be a part of the team. You know, definitely the loner, the lone wolf, so to speak. But I really enjoyed her character a lot because she didn't have to be um, overly expressive or animated to be funny or to be emotional. It was all her emotions were subtle but they were powerful. So I really enjoyed her acting. It was really good. And I also really enjoyed the scene around the fire where you discover that Trini is having problems expressing to her family that she is, having issues with her sexual identity, trying to discover, who she is. And I thought that was really cool for the Power Rangers to have that in there because you just wouldn't think that they would. But it's 2017, and the minds of the people are moving forward. I think overall. And it was really cool that they did that. Now, I really thought that Zach's, you know, attitude was a nice addition to the Power Rangers. He's really upbeat. I remember the scene where they're escaping from the mountains where they discover the power coins, and um, I think they might have been leaving Zach behind, and he just kind of shows up, and I believe Jason's like, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "Yeah, I am," and it was just really, his energy is he's definitely like the loose cannon of the team, but he acted out well. And his scene around the campfire was cool, where he's talking about his relationship with him and his mom. And I want to take note that when he was talking, when he started talking, his whole spiel sounded like a spoken word poem to me. Like it is just the way he was saying it. Like it really hit home. I liked it a lot, man. It was really cool. Now, Billy is by far my favorite character. First of all, I'm not sure if it's Asperger's or autism, but he has that, and it makes him have the most beautiful conversations with the rest of the team, and he really is the glue of the team. They give him great lines. He's an integral part of the story of how they get their suits, and the first one to fully crystallize into their Power Ranger suits, which I note is pretty cool. I think how their suits come together. Um, when I first envisioned the Power Rangers when I was a kid, and I envisioned them like to be real and lifelike, I always did imagine their suits kind of activating on them or being within them, and just kind of and instead of just being suits that you can hang up. I always thought that was kind of lame. Um, the main you know one of the main issues in this Power Rangers movie was figuring out how to activate their suits. They needed to be emotionally, mentally, and physically, I'm sure, but I think mostly emotionally connected with each other, and be willing to act as a team, live and die for each other, type of thing. And the first one to achieve that was Billy, when I believe Zach and Jason were fighting while they were trying to train. Emotions ran high, and they were fighting, and Billy ran in between them and pushed his hands to the side, and it was like, "Guys, stop!" And then he crystallized, but then they touched them. Jason touched them, and his suit just poof, it just went away. And it was actually a big part of the story. I there was a lot of dialogue and talking and character building and finding out about the different reasons why the Power Rangers are who they are. Um, and I thought actually that was really cool, because at the end of the day it is an origin story, especially if you're going to try and build more movies. The Power Rangers is a big series, so you assume if this one if this one does well, they're gonna make more with the same characters. So I really enjoyed just learning about who they are, and all the times, one or two of them would split off and have individual conversations, like when Jason and Kimberly would have a conversation, or when, Trini and Zach were talking at the campfire, or Jason and Billy's conversations are always hilarious. Jason and Billy have a very a cool camaraderie and relationship. It makes for really good dialogue. And so I really enjoyed that, and there was action. This is Power Rangers. Shit's got to go down, and we need to see Megazords and shit, and we did. And the funny thing about the Megazords, actually, which was an awesome way to introduce them, and actually to further portray Zack as like the badass of the group, was when Zordon says, they're training, and Zordon says they're not ready, leave, go home. But Alfalfa, or Alfalfa, he tells, or Alpha 5, whatever, they're telling, they're like, hey, we'll try and raise your spirits up. Look at these things. If you get your suits on, these things are at your command. And they're like, oh, awesome. Okay, now leave. And Zach's just like, whoa. And obviously, so he hijacks his and goes on a little joyride. Zordon's all pissed and whatever afterwards. But, it was a cool, I thought it was a cool little scene. I liked it. Speaking of Alpha 5, he was kind of cool. He wasn't as... I don't think he was as present as he was in the original series. I think most people would say he wasn't as annoying, which I agree with. I agree. He was a lot cooler. Um, the way they were introduced to him and the way that the Rangers reacted to his presence, I thought was really genuine. They realize that they have their powers. They go underwater, and they find the lair. They find a big spaceship. They go inside, and they just see, this thing. They don't know what it is. They just see something they've never seen before, and they're really fearful and instantly hostile. And even as it starts talking to them, and they get a little more comfortable with them, or her or it, they are still planning to, either run away or somehow kill it, which at the end of the day, when it comes to things like, when it comes to the unknown, those are both very realistic human reactions. And so I thought that was a genuine intro to Alpha 5, and that was pretty cool. I also like the fact that Zordon um, can move around, and he's not just stuck in that tube or whatever it was. He definitely looks cooler now, the way it's done. He definitely looks cooler. Zordon was kind of a douche though, a little bit. I felt, yeah, I forgot that like he could get mad and stuff. I just thought he was just like some robot, or some heartless robot or something for some reason. I don't know, but yeah, I was just like, man, Zordon. When it's exposed that he's trying to, come back to life himself, and kind of lead the Rangers or whatever, and face Rita again. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I wasn't really happy about that, to be honest. But this is why I say that Billy is an integral part of the story itself, because spoiler alert, Billy dies. Rita kills him, and it's closer to the end. And so you've built up a relationship with everybody, and at this point, like, you fucking love Billy. You love the guy. You love him, and she kills him, and your heart just dies. You're just like, oh my god, is this for real? This is the first movie. I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. And this, it's sad that this had that had to that had to happen, and that it took that for the Power Rangers to finally get their suits. But what happens is, he dies. Rita leaves to go and do her evil thing, and do her objective in the movie, and they carry him all the way back to their main base, all the Rangers, and he's laying there, and I think I think it's just their attitude and emotional state and all that that activates whatever thing they needed so for Zordon to come back to life. And instead of using it to come back to life, Zordon then uses it for Billy, and Billy comes back to life. And then the Rangers are all happy and are like, they're willing to die for each other, and they're in the right mental and emotional states. And they get there and they turn in the Rangers. They all put their suits on, epic music's going on, and crystals, man. They're all like, oh my god. And it's pretty dope. It was pretty dope. The scene where they're all walking out, it's Jason, Kimberly, Trini, Billy, Zach, and man, like it was just a slow motion walk. And I've seen, it's movies, you see tons of slow motion walks. But when you're a Power Rangers fan and you have that nostalgia the way I do about it, it was it was super cool. I reverted back to, 6-year-old or 7, 8, 9-year-old Dana and was like, "Oh my god!" It was pretty awesome. A lot of feelings flying. A lot of feelings flying. So I thought the Megazords were really cool. I really enjoyed, because of my nostalgia, I really enjoyed the way that they came out originally when they got called, and the original, Power Rangers background music going with that. I thought that was a nice little touch and ode to original Power Rangers fans. And, I also enjoyed the gradual learning curve to understanding their Megazords. Even though it was pretty quick, but I'm sure their newfound, abilities and trusting each other and the suits maybe enhanced, their abilities to learn fast. I don't know, whatever. I'm just making shit up at this point. But I really enjoyed that. They struggled at first. They had problems controlling what to do. Running into things as they're flying or driving or whatever. They clearly, looking like amateur, new beginner drivers out there. And eventually, they got used to it. But a prime example is when they first joined into the Megazord, which the way the parts fitted together made sense. I thought that was pretty cool. But as I was saying, like, yeah, they first assembled into the Megazord, and then they go for their first, like, lunge attack or whatever, and they just fall forward flat on their face because they don't really, don't really know what they're doing in there. So I thought that was pretty funny. It was just a funny part in general, so that it was pretty cool. One thing that I am disappointed with, which is, to my knowledge, from what I see online, everybody is in agreement with, which is in agreement with that this is the biggest disappointment in the movie, is definitely Goldar and his lack of face and personality. In the original, obviously, yes, he was made out of gold, but he had a wolf-like face, and he was cool. He made cheesy jokes and stuff and whatnot, and he was at the very least a character, of himself. Maybe he has a killer backstory, what or why Rita made him or whatever. We don't know. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was disappointing. He did kind of look cool. He was a big gold blob or whatever. But it would have been cool if he had a face and if we could have seen him shrunken down back to normal size. But I think, um, you know, at the end of the movie, they obviously defeat Rita, and she's floating towards space, and coincidentally, her base in the TV series is in space. So I'm thinking maybe she shrinks him down to size, and he gets his face and personality at that time, and then we get a sequel. So that would be nice. I don't know. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Oh, and of course, I got to shout out Krispy Kreme donuts because their product placement in this movie was crazy. It was nuts. For the main object that the main bad guy is searching for to be around a crisp or around or under, or whatever, in the proximity of a Krispy Kreme shop, and there are just numerous occasions of donuts, and even just the blatant scene of Rita, in the donut shop eating one. It's just like, I don't know, man. I love donuts. It makes me want a Krispy Kreme donuts. Krispy Kreme donuts are good, but holy crap, it was intense. But hey, man, you get your money, I guess. I don't know. All right, so enough rambling, because I'm definitely what you call a fanboy for Power Rangers. It's just it's in my soul. It got introduced to me too young. I love it. I'm with them to death. Um, and so in that regard, I'll just go ahead and give this my review here. So overall, the movie is good. If you're a Power Rangers fan, I personally think you're gonna love it, and you're gonna be waiting for them to do a sequel. If not, and you like superheroes, it's another cool superhero movie. And if you're not into Power Rangers fan, if you're not into Power Rangers, you're probably just not gonna like it. But overall, as a movie, in terms of the acting and like the visuals and the graphics and how well those are, and the writing, the dialogue, and the action scenes and all that, Dana ID Matthews, give this movie my official rating of 8.5. It's a great movie. I think you definitely should go see it. It's not life-changing yet. It's not that kind of movie. It definitely is a good new introduction to a new generation of Power Rangers. If you're a Power Rangers fan, like, it's between a 9 and a 10, you're gonna love it. If you're a superhero fan, it'll probably be between a 7 and a 9. And if you're not a Power Rangers fan, or not a superhero fan, or you just don't like that sort of stuff, you probably won't like it. But I think it's a solid movie. The acting is really good. The dialogue is really good. The action is later in the movie, but the action is really good, and it grips you from the beginning. The storyline itself, it's an origin story, so you get to learn a lot about the characters. And when it ends, the most important thing for me, when it ends, you want to see more. That's the feeling you get instantly. You're like, gosh, I can't wait for the sequel right away as soon as it finishes. But that's it for me. My name is Dana ID Matthews. Thank you very much for watching. I will see y'all next week. Peace out.